We can't change what we do not own. We can't change ourselves unless we have fully accepted all of our flaws. Unless we have come to a place where we've recognized who we actually are and what it is that needs to be changed, what it is that we need to focus on. The problem for many of us is we're not even willing to go there, right? We're not even willing to sit down and allow someone else from the outside, a therapist, a loved one, a coach, a friend, someone who knows us and has been seeing us from the outside consistently, to give us some feedback, right? To give us a little bit of feedback about what they see, how they have observed us. The problem with self-mastery is that first you have to be able to look in the mirror. It's a different world when you see yourself from the outside perspective, right? And it's naturally an impossible task unless we put ourselves out there, unless we are open to receiving some sort of feedback from someone. Go on a date with a stranger, see how he or she reacts with certain topics as you're discussing them, right? Pay attention to other people's reactions based on your words, your demeanor, your actions, your behavior. To know yourself is to know your relationships, your connections with other people, and how you influence others, what kind of impact you leave on other people. And this idea of wanting to change ourselves, everyone's out there trying to find their best version, but not accepting who they are, not willing to look in the mirror, not willing to pause for a moment and wonder, what do people like about me? And what do people hate about me, right? And we all have some of that. There's aspects of our personality that have been installed in us, conditioned in us at such young age, that we think it's just the way life is, it's just the way we are, but it needs some refinement. It needs a little bit of refinement. We don't know that, we don't recognize that, we can't possibly change any of that unless we have put ourselves through the test. And the test is essentially coming through relationships, coming through connections, coming through the people that we get to interact with, the bosses, the colleagues. Man, how are your relationships today? What kind of relationships do you find yourself in, right? That's probably the most important question for just about every single person. This is not like, what are you eating for lunch and how is it affecting your training? This is deeper than that. Our relationships define the entire lifespan, our entire journey on the planet, right? It's because of our relationships that we find cool jobs, that we make lots of money or not enough money. It's because of our relationships that we start families. It's because of our relationships that we develop friendships that potentially last throughout our lives and take us on many memorable journeys, right? As you age with your friends, your way of connecting with one another is going to be different, and the possibilities of connecting with each other on different levels, going on certain vacations, getting together and going on retreats. Our relationships are the core of what life is, right? Without the relationships, the whole thing becomes empty. The whole thing becomes empty. I tell my girl, every dollar I make is essentially to spend it on you. And that's not to say that I want to give her all my money, right? But I can't care less about being rich or having more money if the person I'm with, if the people I'm around are miserable, right? I can't care less about having a good amount of income and having money to spend if I don't have anyone to spend it with. And of course, I can say, well, if I'm rich and I can just find other people to hang out with, sure, but there's a different side to that, right? There's people that are only attracted to me then because I have a certain amount of cash, right? But the beauty of a relationship to a point where I sense her love, I sense her beautiful feminine presence in my life, and I sense that whether I ask her to come over for dinner for the next year, or if I take her out to the most expensive restaurants that I can afford, doesn't really mean much to her. It doesn't matter to her, right? So at that point, then spending the dollar with her, on her, it becomes a joy. It becomes a thing that I look forward to, and it becomes a source of inspiration for me to make more money in some ways, because it's just more fun to get to spend that time, that money, that energy with her, right? Our lives together. So the point I'm trying to make is that these relationships define our entire life journey. And that question of like, what kind of relationships do I find myself in? Are they consistently getting more difficult? Do I just constantly find myself in arguments over silly things? Do I connect with people that are always argumentative, always feisty, always trying to win something within this relationship with me, or are always flaking, right? Man, that's a mirror image. Not to say that you're always flaking yourself, but if you constantly find yourself in certain settings, then it might be a good time to ask yourself, well, what am I like? Why is it that I'm constantly attracting these kinds of relationships? And back to the first point of the way I started the video, we can't change anything about ourselves if we don't accept ourselves. If we don't accept all of what makes me, my bald head, my beard that's uneven, and the green shirt that I put on randomly, everything about me makes me who I am. Change comes through the recognition and acceptance of what this moment, this now is about. Change comes through when it comes to our personality, our behaviors, our characteristic attributes. It comes through the way we interact with one another, with our relationships. And so we focus so much on changing the job, the friends, the relationships, the partners, that I'm afraid we might forget sometimes that we are the center of all of these things. All these relationships are circling around us. You're the sun, and everyone else are the planets around you. So maybe it's time to look within. Maybe it's time to recognize whatever's been orbiting around you for such a long time. If you approve of it or not, if you love it or if you always find yourself in conflict with it, however way you view it is essentially a reflection of your own self, your own psyche, your own ego. And the best way, the only way really to understand yourself is to look through those interactions, look through those relationships. Because the alternative is a waste of life, my friends. The alternative is a consistent life of complete disastrous relationships and partners and jobs and colleagues that are constantly clinging and giving you a hard time and argumentative days and just complete misery. And nobody wants that, right? I think I can say that confidently. We are such different human beings from different backgrounds, different parts of the world, literally everything different about us, right? And And we think we have more similarities, and we tend to classify ourselves like that, like men want this and women want that. But there's more to that. We are extremely diverse. From the outside, we start to look a little bit similar after a while. But from the inside, we are extremely diverse. But if there's one thing we can all agree on, is that nobody wants to be miserable. Everybody wants a happy life. Everybody wants the best relationships. Everybody wants good sex. Everybody wants a good amount of money and good income and good food. At that level, we all unite. Look within, y'all. Thank you.